All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start since it is our start time. Oh, Lordy, I have Windows open. We're echoing. All right, we're going to start that again. I'm going to go ahead and start. So a couple announcements to get out of the way first. 3 for our team and a few for everybody. First, recap of this weekend. Our team played F-Word CTF. Good job, everybody. We were really happy with seeing everybody playing in chat. Keep that up. Um, Next weekend, we're going to be playing Al's CTF and Rat CTF. Al's CTF is a typical Jeopardy style, and Rat CTF is a first to the flag style. So that's targeted at beginners. Should be really good for all y'all watching. And yeah, play that. So next, um, the CTF we're going to be playing after that is Seesaw. That's a super classic, really good, really good for beginners CTF. It always has something for everybody and also some really fun, interesting stuff like Twitch plays Capture the Flag. If you weren't around for that, just look it up. And we're going to be playing that the weekend of September 11th. So hopefully everybody who's not in Boilers who's watching will also play Seesaw CTF. Highly recommend it. All right, some announcements for everybody. First, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the bootcamp. So this started as um, just a camp for our members that we host at Purdue University every year. The idea behind it is basically just to get everybody the base level skills that they need in order to be able to play CTFs with our team. Capture the Flag is really fun, but it's also very challenging, and we recognize that there's a really high learning curve for that. So this is kind of our, as in the Purdue CTF team's attempt to mitigate that learning curve for new members so that our people aren't sitting there watching the experienced members play while everybody else has a good time. Um, so what it is not is a class. So these aren't lectures. They're going to be as interactive as possible. We're going to be answering questions from chat as best we can. Basically, our objective is just to translate our in-person methodology for hosting this bootcamp where we have a bunch of people in a lecture hall and we have one person presenting and everybody else walking around just giving people help, talking, having a good time. Um, this is not a college class lecture. This is going to be significantly more informal. Should be pretty fun. Um, and hope.
Audio just cut out.
Hope.
Did my mic break?
I can still hear
Oh,
you.
we're back.
Oh. All right. Well, hopefully that's the first time that happens. And the last time. Anyway, I was just rambling about what our CTF bootcamp is. Hopefully everybody gets a lot out of this. And we're happy to take suggestions from everybody. So whatever you feel would be helpful, whatever we talk about that's not particularly helpful, etc. All right, moving on. Registration for the actual CTF that happens at the end of the bootcamp is now open. That's at play.ctf.boilers.com. The link's not up, but if you go to the site that you've probably seen us link a million times, you'll be able to register for that. Some frequently asked questions I've gotten from that from both Boilers and non-Boilers people. If you are a Boilers member and you want to compete for prizes, your team size has to be 4 or smaller. And there's instructions on how to register your team on our internal team Discord. If you're not a member of the Boilers team, you can play with however many people you want. It's completely open. You don't have to be a member of our team to play. It's a public CTF. All right. And without further ado, the man to my, well, right, I guess, but it would be left if we were in real life, is Ryan Hennessy. He's one of our officers. He's been in the club for almost 4 years. Well, 3 years.
Yeah.
And he's going to be taking you through web. So I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to let him take it away. And I will be, if there's any questions that I see in chat that I feel like need to be answered out loud, I will break in and ask him the question. So feel free to type in chat. He's not monitoring it, but I will be. All right, go for it. Oh, I'm not gone
Awesome.
yet.
Uh-oh. Switch over now so it's not just a big my face all over the screen. Hopefully this is good. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, welcome to the first training session for the 2020 bootcamp. Rowan did a great job kind of like explaining what the bootcamp is. Hopefully if you're here, you know what the bootcamp is. This first week, we're going to have 2 sessions on the basics of web exploitation. And web is super cool because it's got so much stuff. I like it because I use websites every day. And I like to know how the stuff I use works. It's also exciting. New tech is coming out all of the time, whether that's new JavaScript frameworks, WebAssembly, etc. So this new code means that there's new vulnerabilities, which is always exciting for security researchers and CTF developers, specifically when CTF challenges incorporate cutting edge technologies into the competition. It encourages participants to learn. And this relationship really grows the security community as a whole, which in turn makes just websites in general safer for everyone. So here's a quick overview of what we're going to go over today. And the first thing, it's web with a question mark. So the first question I have for you guys is what things have web components? So drop your answers into the YouTube or Twitch chat, and I'll give you a second to do so. Rowan, if you're still here, just let me know if a lot of people type in the chat or are just ignoring me.
Everybody's typing in chat. It's beautiful. You have
Excellent.
1,500 responses already.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, I can't read all of those, so I'm just going to go through my pre-made list. So routers have a web component. Computers have a web component, like your browser. Electron, if you're in the Discord server, is web. It's a big JavaScript framework. So yeah, just a lot of things that you wouldn't think have web components actually do have web components. So it's very interesting, even if you're not interested in websites. The second question, so hopefully we also have 1,000 something responses on this one. What web hacking / security terms have you guys heard of? Guys, girls, and other?
Somebody said PHP equals trash, so I think we can just stop the lesson here because they've already learned everything they need to know.
Yeah, that's the only thing you need to learn. Never do a PHP. That's just to explain that one. It's a web joke. People really don't like PHP for some reason. It's used to be very popular, but now it's not so popular, and it's just the butt of a lot of web jokes. But yeah, hopefully, hopefully that's we got some good responses, including that one. That one was good. Again, I'm going to read off my pre-made list because I can't see the chat. But XSS, which stands for cross-site scripting, is a big one. Template injection, SQL injection, misconfigurations, also very important to know about. And then, yeah, on to the last, definitely not least important question. How many of you guys are already elite web hacksaws? And follow up, how many of you have never even heard of HTML in your life? Or some of you are just probably somewhere in the middle.
We got a lot of middle. I like seeing that.
Nice.
Hopefully everybody who's in the middle gets something out of this, and hopefully everybody who's noob also gets something out of this. So that's dope.
Yeah. Are there any elite web hackers?
Yeah, me, the stream god.
Can confirm. So I would argue that no one is actually a master, not even the stream god over here, because tech is always evolving. Like I said earlier, new things are coming out every day, and you can never really stop learning, especially in web. But I think that's true for every topic you learn ever. So before we jump into the big learning part, if you have any questions or something doesn't make sense, please type in the chat, and either Rowan or one of the other Boilers officers will try to help you out. And if it's a big question, Rowan will bring it up to me as well, and we can answer that on stream. We'll also have plenty of time at the end to go over some questions. So we just try to make sure you guys are all getting this, because it's going to be a lot, but it's all very important, and it's a good framework or baseline for the more advanced stuff.
The only thing that we won't be able to answer super synchronously is questions about how to set up your Docker container. Unfortunately, if you haven't gotten it running by now, I would recommend just trying to download the tools Ryan's using on the fly, um, and run them outside, because it'll be a lot faster than trying to get the container running.
Yeah, most of the things, or the first demo is going to be all in your browser, so you can do this, or at least follow along. You won't be able to do the interactive demo because you won't have it unless you download it from the GitHub, but you should be able to kind of follow along with the interactive demo. But yeah, speaking of the interactive demo, instead of lecturing you guys for a couple hours, I've prepared these interactive demos to go over. This is definitely a win-win because I get to talk less and you guys get to do something other than sitting there slamming monsters and munching Doritos. So the demos are already in your Docker container. So I'll run through how to access those in a second. I'm just going to go over some pre-installed developer tools that your browser already has installed. And again, before we begin, I have to assume all of you know nothing about how a website works. So if you're already familiar with something, please stick with me. I'm just going to go over a lot of the basics. So if I can figure it out, let's swap over to the Docker container. Sick. Which should already be running. And feel free to follow along or just watch. You'll have a lot to do later. Again, I'm just going to run through the basics super quick. So, HTML. You're going to hear me bring this up a lot. And what is it? You can respond or just let me talk. It's cool. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. I don't think anyone really cares that it stands for that. That's what it stands for. And pretty much all the web pages on the internet use HTML to show people content. So what I'm going to do over here, I opened up a terminal, just clicking this thing and then terminal. I'm going to create a little demo HTML file for you guys. This is just a super basic file that'll kind of show you what HTML looks like. So if you notice, there's these little bracket things. These are called tags. And pretty much everything in HTML uses these little tags to do something. So if it's a button, that'll be a tag. If it's a link, it'll have a tag. If it'll have text, like this paragraph tag, pretty sure it's paragraph. It'll have a tag. Yeah. So a couple things you'll notice: HTML, body. It's all just kind of like formatting on where everything goes. It's not super important, but I'm just going to bring that up again in case you have not seen this before. But yeah, so this is a hello world of HTML over here. And to open it and actually see what it looks like, I'm just going to open another terminal. You can type Firefox and then the name of the HTML file, and you'll open it up like this. Oh, how do I unmaximize? Anyway, here is what I was trying to show you. So this over here in Firefox, oh no, is this HTML file that I just wrote real quick. And it's being rendered in your browser. So the first thing we're going to do is to right click and then inspect element, which will pull up all of these sick browser tools. You can also press F12. I believe that'll pull it up as well. So the first thing you should see is this inspector tab if you're in Firefox. This is a super great tool to see the HTML of the actual site. We can see here that it's pretty much exactly what we wrote, except they added a head, which is another thing that HTML files have, but I was too lazy to write that out. And then, yeah, so this view organizes the HTML elements by tag, and you can expand and collapse like each little container to make it easier to see. Now, this is a super, super simple example, so we don't actually need to collapse anything. But for example, if we open the new tab, open up the inspector, there's a lot more here that we can expand and collapse. So you might be noticing that the page itself is highlighting and stuff while I scroll over things. And that's because you can actually see what parts of the HTML are being, like, what the code renders in your browser. So this little section here is what is the code for what renders the top sites thing and highlights, etc., etc. So this is useful if you want to figure out how the web developer managed to center their image in CSS, or I don't know, you're looking for a specific thing, and it's just a super simple way to find that. You can also edit the HTML here. So let me find the top sites. Again, sometimes you have to dig deep with these. Oh man, it's still going. There we go. So we find the text that's top sites, and we want to change that. So we can right click, edit as HTML, and then we'll just rename that to bottom sites. Bam. And it didn't do anything. Sick. Anyway, live demos never work. We'll do it on this page. So we're going to find the hi, edit that as HTML, and then change it to by, and then click off. Bam, that one worked. Gotta love live demos. So this little like highlight section is also super useful if you're trying to find like a JavaScript tag that updates, or script tag that updates a forum post or anything like that. Speaking of JavaScript, the next tag we're going to switch to is the JavaScript console. So JavaScript was originally designed to extend HTML's functionality, but now it's evolved into something that people think they hate, but in reality, it's not so bad. It can serve responsive HTML through a dynamic JavaScript front end from a backend server written in JavaScript. Wrap your noodle around that one. But too long didn't read. JavaScript has become super powerful, and a lot of things are using it to do a bunch of different web stuff. So definitely would recommend learning it just along the way. But anyway, it's not actually super complex. We can add some JavaScript into our little test file over here with this script tag. So that just means we want the browser to interpret this as JavaScript. So we'll create a quick function, say hi, and we're going to make it pop-up box open that just says hi. So if we refresh this guy, it doesn't do anything. Why didn't it do anything? The answer is because we didn't call it. So this function, just like other functions, isn't going to do anything unless we call it. But if we want to call it, we can't do it from just the regular page. Like there's no button to click. There's no, I don't know, button to click is a good example. But we have this nice little Java console down here. And we can see, I don't even have to type the whole thing out, that if we start to type in the function name, it'll auto like populate and tell us that it's a function. And we can actually call that in the console itself, like that. Bam, we got the little alert that says hi that pop up. Thank goodness, at least one live demo works. But yeah, so that's all this this code here did. And just a quick note, the console can be used to interact with JavaScript that is on the
Hold on, folks. It looks like we lost the stream. 1 second. Hey, Ryan. All right. So it looks like his connection probably dropped because he's not in Discord either. So everybody just sit tight. We'll get it fixed.
What's up?
Oh, he's back.
Oh,
Maybe my connection dropped. Well, that's
You're still on
embarrassing.
how?
He's back.
All right, continue.
Did you guys hear all that?
No, they heard none of that.
All right. Do you remember the last thing? Okay. All right. Sweet. That's good. It wasn't that much. Sweet. So we said hi, got the alert, and then I explained how, just super quickly, that you can actually type the alert directly into your browser itself, and that you can also use the JavaScript console as a calculator if you wanted to. You can also send all of your cookies to malicious website through the console as well. But just note that all of this is going to be done on the client side. And I'll talk about that, the cookies to malicious website bit in the second talk. So definitely come back to watch that one. But yeah, I think that's, hopefully I covered all of that for the console. And we'll go over to the next tab, which is the debugger. So a debugger is just a tool that developers use to help them remove a bug from their code. So this is done by setting a breakpoint, and then the program will stop executing at that point, and you, the developer, can actually see what's going on. So in this case, the debugger is for JavaScript that's running on our site. So if we expand this out a little bit, we can get to the test.html file, and we can see our script. But we don't really have any function or any variables that we need to debug. So let's add one real quick. It's just a message, and then we're going to alert that message. Super simple. let's refresh this. And now we can see that here. So if we call there we go, the function again, we get the alert hi, just like before. But what if we wanted to change that? If you go over to the debugger and the line number you want to set a breakpoint at, you can just click and you'll have a breakpoint. And so if we go over back into the console and say hi again, you can see that we've paused on this breakpoint and we haven't gotten an alert box yet. We can also scroll over the variable name and it'll tell us what value it has, which is super nice if it's something more complex than just our little test file here. So let's change it. Just simply change message and set it to something else like bye, for example. And then we'll scroll over there or over the message. Boom, we've changed the message. We'll click the play button to keep going. And wow, you're so
Real sorry about all these drops, folks. I'm assuming we'll get it back in a second, but I'm gonna...
useful in other things other than CTF.
Hey Ryan, we lost you again.
Oh. Okay. Do you want me to lower my bitrate or
I don't think it's bitrate because I'm losing you from Discord at the same time as I lose you from
Discord? Okay.
So it's also possible that it could just be me.
Gotcha.
I don't think it is because I'm still getting chat and the stream's not dropping. So I'm pretty sure it's my connection to you. But yeah, go ahead and lower your bitrate.
Okay.
Sorry, folks. Live troubleshooting. This is our first time doing this.
What do you want me to lower it to? It's at 6 million right now, I think.
Do 3. No, do 4. 6
4.
would be hard to read.
All right. Do you want me to stop and start it again then?
Yeah, you'll have to.
All right.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye. Start. There you go. Am I back?
Yep.
All right. How long was that one?
It stopped right as you alerted by.
Good. Oh Lord. All right.
It was awesome. It was bad because of dropping stream, but good because memes. Anyway, I'm sure someone.
Wait,
Right.
that's actually hilarious. But not hilarious because wait, okay, that's not bad.
I'm just gonna text you next time.
Yeah, I'll.
All right. Back to the stream.
All right, sweet. So now that I've left and returned, you saw the message change from hi to bye. Great. We've just changed how the website works. You guys are professional hackers already. And yeah, we're gonna. Did you guys hear how that was the way I changed my Facebook basketball score? Because that was probably the highlight of my stream. If not, I'll say it again. It's a great joke. This debugger is actually how I changed my high score in the Facebook basketball game, where you had to like swipe up on the thing to over 9,000. But yeah, so if you didn't hear that before, that's a great joke. But if not, still a great joke. And last note, all of the stuff that we're doing right here is on the client side. So you're not actually changing this test.html file at all. You're just changing the stuff on your browser or how your browser is interpreting that file. So let's get to the client server side stuff I've been weaseling my way around for the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes since I had to stop the stream for a couple seconds. So the client side is what we see all the time. It's like the HTML, the JavaScript that you get loaded on your web page. It's all stuff that you can control. The server side is stuff you shouldn't be able to control, and you generally don't know what's going on there. Sometimes in a CTF challenge, you'll get the source for the server. Other times you won't. So it's just kind of a big black box. The client and the server communicate between each other. And this is kind of where the network tab comes in. You can see all of the requests that your browser, which is the client in this case, sends to the server, and all the responses that your client receives from the server. So you can actually follow along with this one. If we go to the network tab first, and then go to wikipedia.com. Bam. Excuse me. We get this little guy. Where's our HTML? We're gonna refresh. There we go. So you can see all of the different requests that our browser has made just from loading wikipedia.org. Oh, it's .org, not .com. Might be. Because there's a lot of different things that
I didn't hear the question. I'll ask that again.
Oh,
Why is
okay.
it making so many requests to Wikipedia? Asks Samar from chat.
That's a very good question. So it's making so many requests because there's a lot of different resources that aren't included in the HTML file. So it's got this request, which is a JavaScript file it's requesting. It's got this one, which is the Wikipedia logo. This is just a bunch of icons, another logo, and yeah. So you can see that there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that you don't necessarily see, but your browser's just handling for you, because that's what users want. They don't want to go to a website and then click to load just the image, or just the JavaScript or something like that. You want it all to just kind of work, and so that's what your browser is doing for you. This network tab just lets you see everything that's getting loaded into this one browser tab. So, very good question. Thank you. You can see all of this, and we can actually compare it to a request to google.com, which makes a lot more requests. But yeah, for the purposes of our little explanation, Wikipedia will do fine. You can filter these requests up here by clicking on the HTML, or any one of the other ones if you want to filter by that. And then if we click on the actual request over here, we get way more information than we'll ever need. So just a quick backtrack real quick. The browser is sending a GET request to the server at wikipedia.org, and we can see this here over on the request headers. So this is the most important. It's not going to say highlighted for me. All right, I'm going to hold my mouse down. This line right here, I'll make it super big in the terminal. Oh no. Can I not resize? Okay. Well, right click. Okay. Large. Huge. All right. So this get slash HTTP slash 2. This is pretty much the basics of HTTP, which is a protocol that is pretty much like the language of websites, I guess you could refer to it as. But it's just the the protocol that browsers use to communicate with web servers. So this get is an HTTP method. This slash is the asking for a specific resource. So in this case, the / just means the root or the base of the website, which is pretty much exactly like the root of the Linux file system. And then HTTP is the HTTP protocol, and then 2 is just the version. So this last bit doesn't really matter as much, but get and then the resource is very, very important. So let's close that. We can show another example of this for the image over here. And it's getting /portal blah, 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 logo.png. So every request is in a specific form. And yeah, so these are called the headers. In
Brian,
Git,
we've got a question. Why is it HTTP if the website is HTTPS?
Ooh, good question. HTTP is just like the base protocol. The little S afterwards means that it's secure. It doesn't actually mean secure, I don't think, but sick. I'm a god. So it just means that there's some little bit of encryption, right? Yeah. Added on top of it so that people can't just see this message being sent out. They see a bunch of gibberish, which only you and the web server will be able to understand. I'm not going to get into like TLS and all that sort of shit. Yeah, ask the crypto presenter what TLS is. It's important for web, but I'm just not going to cover the specifics in this. But yeah, you can also look it up on your own. There's a bunch of different versions, a bunch of good vulnerabilities that are very interesting that you can look up as well. But yeah, so these are the headers. HTTP, not HTTPS. Even though there is an S in the little URL bar. Yeah. So there's 2 sections to requests. There's the headers, and then there's a body. GET requests tend not to have a body, but some weird CTF challenge developer might make it that your GET request has a body. So the HTTP protocol is more of a standard, but as long as the server or the browser and the or the client and the server rather can communicate, it's like a suggestion. There's a lot of custom API challenges that people like to make that do weird things. But yeah, anyway, so after you send this request out to Wikipedia, it's going to send you a response back. So you can see up here, you have the little response headers. In this case, it's the 304 because we already requested it and it's just been cached. but you've probably seen 200 the 200 status code and the 404 error code, and that's part of the response here is the status code, then a little status message. But this is the response headers. Quick question for y'all. Can anyone guess what the 2 sections of response contains? I'll give you a hint. It's very similar to 2 sections we just learned about. Hopefully someone said body. You are correct. There's a hopefully. Yeah.
Somebody just said header and body as you were
Yes.
saying it. Excellent work. Miso ramen no corn from chat.
What a great name. Yeah, so header and body is the same, well, not the same, but like those are the 2 sections for both requests and responses. In the case of the response, the body is the content. So in this response, it'll show somewhere, if I can find it. Content type, here it is. That the content is an image PNG, and then it might not have size because it's cached. Let me refresh again. There we go. Looking through this again, content length, that's what we're looking for. That's the size of the image, and then the body is actually just that image. So that's what you see when you usually just browse. And then the next one we're going to go over, we're just going to ignore the style editor. That's more for debugging CSS stuff and performance and memory. And we're just going to jump over to storage. So this storage tab shows you all of the cookies that the browser is storing locally in your browser. So it's a key value pair. And these can be anything from configuration settings to session IDs. Let's see what we have. Or your latitude and longitude coordinates to your location. Sweet. We're going to close out of that. Sick. If you... whoops. All right, we'll go to the storage over here. In our test file, it doesn't have a server, so it's not sending us a cookie. If you guys find my address, send me a nice thank you note or something. Whoops. So anyway, the storage tab is a place where you can view cookies, but you can also add and edit cookies here. So you just add a cookie by clicking the plus button, and we've created a cookie by the name of this long thing, but we can rename it by double clicking, and just do test cookie with the value cookie. Oh no. And yeah, so this cookie is going to be sent to the website with every request. The website can also, or the web server can also set cookies in the response. So this is another like mode of communication that the client and server have. So that brings us to, let me switch over. Bam. The first demo. Welcome to your browser. So to get to this, you're just going to type localhost 3000 into Firefox. Again, so in your Docker container, type localhost 3000 in Firefox. You can open Firefox by just typing Firefox into a terminal, or I think there's a button. Yeah, there's just a button for Firefox. So go ahead to localhost 3000, and you guys can start the basic DevTools example. There's 4 flags, and there's actually a bug in the 4th flag. So if you get there, it's when you log in to the login page, I guess. Just let us know in chat, and we can send you a link to like get to that next step. I'm going to give you like 5 to 10 minutes to go through this, and then I'm going to run through all of the solutions so that everyone can learn as well. So yeah,
Ryan,
go
care
ahead.
to care to tell the chat what a flag is?
Oh, what a great question. So a
And where they
flag.
put the flag when they find it?
Oh, okay. So first off, what is a flag? A flag is a little like prize, I guess, for completing a challenge, or a proof that you actually were able to complete the challenge. So a flag will be in the format. Switch over here. So here's the little localhost 3000 example. So a flag will be in the format flag, and then in brackets it'll have something funny here, like joke. So this is just a general flag format. And so this is used to show the challenge developers that you were able to exploit the challenge in the right way to get a flag. So for all CTF challenges, or not all, I guess, but most CTF challenges have a flag that you'll submit, and you'll get points for that. So in this case, it's just a demo. You're not actually going to submit it anywhere or get any points, unfortunately. You'll get brownie points. But yeah, you don't need to post them anywhere. Oh no, it's too big. Whoops. Do you have the link, Rowan, for the thingamabob once they get to the login?
I sure do.
Sick. All right.
Well, maybe I do. Where'd you send it to me?
All right, I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, so for everybody asking, we don't have any submission for these flags. These are just for the demo to illustrate some of the stuff we've been talking about. During the actual CTF at the end of the boot camp, we will have, full flag submission. You'll get points, actually compete against each other, stuff like that. So Ryan, while they're solving their challenges, you want to tell them about some of the coolest web challenges you've encountered?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, the Order of the Overflow one recently was pretty cool. Let me see if I can figure out any like other good web challenges. I mean, I remember the ones that I've made. Um, Let me see. There's always a good one. where actually I'll talk about the UIUC one that you guys got with the PHP,
Yeah, go
the
for it.
calculator. Yeah. So one of the challenges in on an internal CTF for UIUC was a PHP calculator. So it just kind of showed up as a calculator, and you had to figure out some way to like exploit it. So did you have source for that?
So it was one of the web challenges where you don't directly get source, but you're able to find the source. So
Okay.
a lot of web challenges, for those of you watching, um, will be some sort of server-side code, whether that's PHP or Node.js or Python or something like that. And there's no direct way for you to get the code so that you can figure out what the vulnerability is, but there will be some other beginning step vulnerability on the page that allows you to figure out what the path to the code file is and download it, and then you're able to explore the code.
Yeah. So in this case, it was a piping things, or not piping things, but sending the input of the calculator into a system like command through PHP. So there was a ton of like restrictions on what you could actually send, and I believe you worked on this one, right, Rowan? You and Nathan.
Yeah, do you want me to just talk about it?
And well, like I'm trying to think of one I've worked on recently, but that's the only one that like pops up. um, but yeah, if you could just like talk 2 seconds about that, and I'll find
Sure.
one.
I'll talk about this one, then we'll come back and move on. Probably will be a good amount of time. Um, so this challenge was made by UIUC's CTF team SigPony. If you haven't played their CTF this year, I'd highly recommend it. It was pretty fun and a very cool Animal Crossing theme. Um, but so the challenge was essentially there's a PHP form where you can fill it out, but you can only put in characters that are allowed in a calculator. So parentheses, mathematical symbols, and numbers essentially. So what we have to do is figure out a way to abuse the PHP eval. So we're using in a lot of languages, there's a function called eval, which will just evaluate a string as if it's code. That exists in JavaScript, it exists in PHP, it exists in Python. Pretty much any interpreted language is going to have that. So um, what happens is you input something in a calculator and then it's evaled, but you're only allowed to use symbols that would be able to use in the calculator. And further, you're limited to 80 characters or something like that. So what you have to end up doing is encode your PHP payload in a base transformation that's within the character set, and then encode that sometimes 2 or 3 times for some of them, so that it would pass their filters. And eventually we get a system call, and we're able to uh, leak the flag out through doing that.
Yeah. So I can go over another one for the next demo. But yeah, I think we're good on the 5 to 10 minutes bit. So I'll just start going through some of the answers here. I'll try to go slow just in case
A
someone
lot of
is.
people are saying they can't click for flag 3.
Ah, yes, that is part of the challenge. um, but yeah, so I'll switch over to Chrome real quick. And yeah, I'll start to go through some of these. So flag 1, you just open up the inspector here, and it's right here. This is that HTML comment, which is the first flag, b01lers web example 1. Wow, you've got your first flag. Congratulations. CTFs aren't that bad, right? So that's the first column here. Then the second column is this CSS bit. There's actually 2 flags here. So if we keep scrolling in the inspector and keep expanding things, we see column 1, and then part 2, CSS time, column 2. Can you guess what's under this little black bit, black bar that you can't even highlight? And it's pretty clear in the HTML what it is, but how do you actually like show this text? And so to do so, it's a style right here. Background color is black. So if the background color and the text are both black, they're just going to blend together. So we can right click that, edit as HTML, and just remove this whole background color equals black bit. And bam, there's the second flag. You can also remove the disable select class and user select none. So you can actually like copy and paste that if it was a longer flag and you didn't want to manually type it out. And then this next one is kind of harder. And if you look over here in the inspector, there's a div here, which is a little container for something, and it's highlighting something on the screen right over here, but you can't actually see it. So if we go ahead and expand this, we see a button, which we can see the highlight of, but we can't actually see what's in the button. So let's make it so we can see this section. The opacity is set to 0. So if we set that to anything greater than 0, we should be able to see, bam, this button. You can also just delete the opacity in general. That would work too. But if you try clicking the button, it doesn't work. So this is the next step, is to figuring out how you can click this button. So looking at the little HTML bit right here, it says it's a button, a couple of classes, it's a button, does something, and then it's disabled equals false. Disabled equals false should mean true, right? No, it doesn't really matter what this disabled equals. It will always be disabled as long as this disabled is in there. So if we just delete that, we can click this button and get the next flag. So that's flag 3. And then we can move on to the 4th flag. So this is definitely the hardest flag of them all to get. We have a little login form here. So we can jump to the last column here, column 3. And we can see that it's got a lot of stuff. So here's our actual login form. Cool, doesn't show us anything there. Let's go down to the submit button. So it has onClick equals login. So login is a JavaScript function. So let's head over to the debugger and see if we can find some JavaScript. Oh, I think I just scrolled past it. Here we go. The login function right here. So you can see here that it's getting the username by the element ID username. And we can double check that this is the username little text editor here by scrolling over and seeing that the input ID equals username. So it's grabbing the username value from this box and storing it into username, and then the password input box value and storing it into password. So that's pretty self-explanatory here. And then we just check to see if the username equals admin and the password equals password with some leet speak just to make sure that you can't guess it. So if we go ahead and type in that admin and pass w0r capital D and hit submit, we have a not found because I forgot to program this root. So no big deal. You can just click or type in the link that I gave you, which should be, yeah, thanks. Dev tools /4diagonal. Oh, first try. And then you get to this page. So you can kind of see that there's the closing bracket and opening bracket. But this is definitely not in the flag format. So if we go over to the inspector real quick, we'll see that there's a script with the unscramble function. You can go over to the debugger and actually try to understand what's going on, but it's just kind of unscrambling it. So we'll head over to the console and we'll type in unscramble to call that function. And that's your fourth flag. So that's your first kind of web CTF challenge that some of you have tried. So I don't expect you guys all to get all 4 flags, especially since this one took a little extra finagling to get since I made a little error. But hopefully you were able to get at least a couple of them. And if anyone got all 4, congratulations. You're on your way to becoming the next elite web hacker. So let's swap over here. Demo 2. So what is HTTP? This next demo is going to be all about different HTTP methods. And by browsing the web, you tend to only use GET and POST methods, but there's a lot more defined. You can see all of the different ones if you Google Mozilla HTTP methods. It'll have a nice little explanation of all of the various methods and whatever. They're pretty interesting. But this is the special language that websites and web servers use to communicate. It's the HTTP protocol, and it operates on the application layer for all of you OSI model nerds. So just going over a few of them, you guys saw the GET method already. It's what browsers send to get or request resources from a web server. So this can be anything from the HTML to getting a picture or a CSS style sheet. POST is what browsers use to send data to a web server. So these requests will actually have a body. And this is commonly found when you hit a login button or you submit information on a form or something like that. And then options is a really cool HTTP method that is implemented. If it's implemented, it'll tell a browser or a user what options or what HTTP methods are okay to use on a specific URL. So you guys already saw that the format of the GET request was, swap over here. Was just a, I'll make it bigger too. Huge. Was just a, my insert, please. Oh, this is fun. Let's open up a new one. Terminal. Get /HTTP/2. Now we'll make it big. There we go. All right, so you already saw that this is pretty much the format for all like HTTP methods and stuff like that. It also has a very important line somewhere in the headers. I can't type. And it'll have hosts, and there we go. This host will be what the actual like location of the website is. So in this case, make another. Well, we'll do it on the actual server. Here we go. So for the server, we want the request. We see that the host that it is requesting the /resource from is localhost 3000, which is the same URL in our browser. These two don't always have to match, this host header and this URL bar, but it is just kind of like nice to know that it's there. I brought this up earlier, but a quick note on HTTP methods is that they are supposed to do what the standard says, but the server can interpret that request however it wants. Remember, the server is the black box and you have no idea what's going on there. So a quick example of this is actually if we go to google.com, there we go. You're going to google.com, but you aren't, and you're receiving an HTML file that your browser is rendering. But you requested google.com, not google.com/index.html, right? So the server is sending you this HTML file even if you're not requesting it. So let's move on to how you actually do this stuff. Clear up some of these terminals. Here we go. So the first tool that I'm going to go through real quick is just very briefly, curl. So curl's a super nice command line interface. If you know how to use it, great. If not, you can type man curl. Okay, we don't have man. Curl help. We'll give you a bunch of crazy help stuff. But if you haven't used curl before, we have this other thing called Postman, which you can open by typing postman, into your terminal, and it'll pop up. You don't have to make an account at all. You can just scroll down, you don't even have to scroll down. Just click skip signing in and take me straight to the app. Make sure you're in dark mode so you don't strain your eyes. And then to do your first request, you click this create a request button. And then so you have this little thing right here, which will let you select from all of the different HTTP methods. And then the request URL, which is where you want to send that request. So in this case, we'll just do localhost :3000. And then you've got a bunch of these different extra options down here, which will change based on the method. So we're just going to ignore this for right now. We don't have to add a query to this request. And then to actually send it, you click the send button, and there's your website. The response right here. You can actually preview it and see a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so there's the headers, blah, blah, blah. I prefer curl just because I don't need all of the functionality that Postman offers. But it's a very great tool to start off with if you're trying to figure out how everything works. So with that, the demo 2, if I can switch over here. Here we go. Demo 2, what is HTTP? You guys can access that at localhost 3001. So you can open that up in your browser or just go straight into Postman and view it from there. So yeah, go for it. This one should work 100%. And if it doesn't messes the chat, I'll give you like 5 to 10 minutes for this one as well. And oh, there it is. There are 2 flags this time. And to get a big hint is for the second flag is to use the first flag as a hint to help you find the second flag. And like the first demo, I'm going to go over the solutions at the very end. So if you can't get both of them, no big deal. I'll explain that, all of the solutions. Yeah, I'm just going to go through the public CTF challenges from last year, just because I like fully understand what they're doing. So one of the challenges I've made previously is for the public CTF boilers is hosted, and so which challenge is a good one to go over? Space noodles? No, no, not that one. Scrambled's a good one. So Scrambled was a challenge with a single page with a YouTube video on it and a reload button. So reloading it wouldn't change the YouTube video; it just give you the same site each time. But if you poked around in specifically the storage tab, you would be able to see that the cookies changed each time. So forget which one it was. I think it was called the name of the cookie was like frequency and transmissions. The frequency cookie would increment by 1 each request, and the transmissions cookie would have a lot of like KX and like some weird stuff in the middle. And so the solution to this challenge was the weird stuff in the middle of that like KX, which is supposed to like represent static, but like in a text form, was actually the flag. So it had the flag or 2 characters of the flag, the index of where those 2 characters were, and then some more like extra noise. And so one of the ways you could have figured this out was if you refreshed it enough times, you would be able to see that the indexes, if they were, for example, if you got index 30, it was IV, and 31 was VO. So moving up an index, you'd see that the character at index 31 was the same. And so you could pretty much piece together the flag bit by bit by making a ton of requests, since it was random. And yeah, that was a fun challenge. The solution was pretty cool too. You can see the source and write-up, official write-up on the boilers GitHub. Oh, sweet, yeah. So that's a fun challenge. It's also 100% solvable for you guys right now, even without any external resources. It might take a while to get the whole flag, but definitely solvable with what I've taught so far.
Someone's asking, what's the difference between put and post requests?
I think it depends on the server. Most post requests will, like it's more common for a post request to just kind of submit data temporarily to a server. For example, a login if you're submitting like a username and a password, whereas put's more common to like put a resource on the server type of thing. Yeah, I don't think I've ever like used put than like a legit API before. But it's nice to know that it exists. So how are people doing? Do you guys want some more time, or do you think we're good to start going over these answers?
Well, nobody's saying anything in chat, so I'm gonna assume they're all done.
Sweet.
I'd say we start. I'd say we start talking about it.
That works. Let me switch over to Chrome. Bam. All right. So if you request the page in Firefox, you'll see that you got get successful at the top. And you also get flag part 1 of 6 right here. So to get the other parts, you have to make successful requests using get, post, options, head, put, and delete. So it goes over how to use curl, and also just a quick little like Postman link. But yeah, I'm just gonna explain all of the stuff in Postman. Although I do want to point out this line right here real quick. The Python requests library or Pwn tools is very useful for like scripting a solution to a web challenge. For example, that scrambled challenge uses, I'm pretty sure, the requests library to Rowan, you're unmuted. Oh, all right. So the Python requests library is just so you can programmatically make requests to a web server or something like that. And so when you do that, you can make a bunch of requests to, for example, that scrambled challenge. So you wouldn't have to refresh the page each time. You just have to run the script and it auto magically do it for you. But yeah, anyway, the solution to this is pretty easy in Postman. You just have to get localhost 3001, send, then you do find the flag part 1, copy that somewhere. Copy. Please open. Thanks. There we go. And then change to post. I believe that's the next one. Post. Send. We get post successful. If you wanted to add some body to this, you could select the form data and then do key. So like username and then add admin. Or you could do like password. This wouldn't do anything, but that's just a like valid post request. So then you get part 3 of 6. And then we put that here. And then for the next one, options. In Postman, options, send. Then you get part 6, which is this bit. You can also see all of the available options right here. Put 6 in right there. The next one we'll do is head. So head's a really cool request because it'll just reply with the headers. So if you make I can't talk right now. Yeah, if you make a head response, you won't get the like body of the message. So for example, if you were requesting a huge file and you didn't want to get that whole file, you would just be able to make a head request to make sure that you were getting that file properly before actually sending the full like get request to get that file. So there's no body, there's no cookies, but if you go over to the headers, you can see that there's a custom header right here, which is flag part 2. And then this is the value of that flag, part 2. Put that up here. Bam. And then the next one we'll run through is put. You just select the next one, put, send. Again, if you wanted to have a body to this request, you could just select any of these. Form data is what usually is submitted with like a post and stuff like this. So we're on the headers tab. It has a body in this case. Then part 4 is this right here. That in here. And then the last one is delete. So it doesn't actually delete the site, because if you did that, that'd be annoying. For you, everyone has their own site. But yeah, delete successful. And then part 5 of 6. Copy that. Put that here. And we'll put it all together to get part 2 is getting robots.txt. What? So, big hint to this is get, and then let's get rid of these spaces. There we go. Robots.txt. There we go. So the hint here is to get, and then the resource robots.txt. So if we do that in Postman, localhost 3001 / robots.txt. Then if we send that, we'll get a response here, which pretty much just explains what the robots.txt file is. So feel free to read this on your own time. But it's kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure most websites have it. So if you go to google.com/robots.txt, bam, it's here. This is a really cool place to see what like routes a website has. So Google has a /chart route, something like that. In this case, we don't really have anything interesting here, but except the flag. So that's the flag. So great job. This is a demo 2. And then if we wanted to do the same thing in curl, you could just do curl localhost 3001, and you'd get the whole flag stuff again. But to do like different methods, you'd use the -x parameter, I guess you'd call it. Post, and then -d. Something like this. What? Where'd it go? Okay. And yeah, now we have post successful. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so just a quick go over that one. -x changes the, or capital X changes the method for curl. -d is the data. Oh, why did it post twice? What? All right, so that's weird. Don't worry about that. If you know how to use curl, great. If not, look it up later. There's a curl tab in Postman.
happening here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Go for it.
If you go to the right click the send, like the little drop down on the send. Oh, no, just kidding. It's save.
Uh-oh.
And then save
Save as,
as. And I think you can save it as a curl request, but maybe not in this version of it.
baby.
Just kidding. For anybody watching, uh, it's probably code, but we're gonna stop clicking random stuff in Postman because I, the person talking, am an RE person and I don't know how to use Postman. But there is a functionality in it where you can get the request in a lot of different languages. You can export your request as curl, as Python, as... Okay, just go ahead and click code while I'm talking because I'm pretty sure that's it.
Where's the code button?
Right
What?
below save. Exit this. Exit this.
Oh, I got
There's
it.
code.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any request that you make with Postman, you can go into here and you can copy as a bunch of different languages. You can copy it as curl command, etc. We
Oh,
figured
awesome.
it out. Go us. We did
Yay.
it. We did it, Reddit.
So yeah, if you wanted to do to see what your commands in curl would be, you can do this, I guess, which is a super quick way to do it. Does it have a Python? Hey, sweet. That's awesome. So if you made a Postman request, you can literally just spit it into Python, which is super nice. I might use that. But yeah, so another great feature of Postman, which I'm not too familiar with, but if it works for you, that's very powerful. And yeah, scroll down a little bit and switch over. Here we are. So we got a lot of time, or maybe not a lot of time, some time for like 3 or so minutes for questions. So either about the whole presentation or web in general, go ahead and ask any clarifying questions that you may have about the presentation or web in general.
No questions in chat yet.
Sick.
As you just saw with that Postman downloading the requests library, everybody learns all the time. CTF has a high learning curve. There's a lot to know. Hard for everybody to know everything. So it's something that you can continue to learn all the time. All right, there are some questions coming in.
Sick.
Is there homework? Is there homework for next class? There is not, but there is a service running on 3002 and another one running on 3003. Well, the 3003 one's broken. There's one running on 3002 and one running on 3004 that if you'd like to look at before the next time, you can go ahead and do that. Anything else, Ryan? Anything else they should do?
Get some sleep. Remember to stay hydrated. I don't know. There's no really
Minor
homework for
asks,
it.
how hard are web CTFs?
Depends on the CTF. So if you're going to participate in the Boilers Bootcamp CTF, which is like in a month or so, there's a countdown on the site.
October
That's going
3rd,
to be,
9
there you
a.m.
go.
Eastern.
Nice. If you're going to participate in that, which I highly recommend, that's very beginner oriented. So definitely participate in that. It's going to be on the scale of CTFs, super easy, but some CTFs tend to be a little on the harder side. Some tend to be on the medium side. Really depends on the challenges and the actual CTF like creators.
Somebody asks, what's your favorite type of CTF problem?
One I can solve.
Excellent
Definitely.
answer. And then a follow-up question, what's the dirtiest part of web challenges?
Ooh. Sometimes like figuring out what's going on can be really difficult, since you do have that server side aspect of it most times. Um, that's usually the grossest part. Also, obfuscated JavaScript sucks.
How do you feel about WebSockets?
um, they're cool. I don't think I've done too much with them yet, but they're definitely pretty cool.
All right, it's been 3 minutes.
Sweet.
We're
All
gonna we're
right.
gonna cut our questions there, but any other questions that you have, you're welcome to ask on our Discord. There's a Discord link at ctf.boilers.com. I'm gonna drop that in chat right now.
Boom. Already
If you
one
go
step ahead
there,
of you.
you can join our public Discord. Feel free to ask questions there. Feel free to talk about the boot camp, help each other solve the demo problems, and also we I, on behalf of the whole team, appreciate everybody who's giving out free help in the public chat with all of the Discord or with all of the Docker stuff. It's been very helpful. Hard for us to get to everybody, but we're doing our best.
Yeah. So thank you guys all for coming to the first totally online Boilers Bootcamp like session, or yeah, session, I guess. And following along with the stream and all of that good stuff. So hopefully I see you guys at the next one, which is this Friday, September 4th at 6:30 again Eastern time. And yeah. I'll see you there. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Rowan, for helping out with the questions in chat. And yeah.
For members of our team, we're going to be hanging out in the meetings channel for a little bit after this, just to answer any lingering questions and also to talk about the rest of the week. Everybody who is not in our club, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you for the next one, and then next week, starting on Monday, is reverse engineering. So that's going to be pretty different from this. That's going to be a lot of very low-level code stuff. Web is built on top of technologies, on top of technologies, on top of technologies. So we're going to go from looking at the very highest level to the very lowest level. So make sure to tune in on Friday for some more advanced web stuff. And yeah, we'll catch y'all later.
Yep.
Stream.